Not religious or Catholic, it had to be quite something to experience what we did today. We saw American Pope name, first time ever. And what a moment if you watched any of that stuff today on it was gripping TV. It's also a day where we talk about sports. I'm sure there are many comments already about the Pope being from Chicago, if he's a White Sox fan or a Cubs fan, what have you. Meanwhile, we have some baseball and some softball to talk about. Texas survived today in the SEC tournament, but barely the team that beat Florida. It's a special night for baseball fans because we've got Steve Russell, who was one of the very best announcers in the business on baseball especially. He's going to join us in just a moment. We're going to find out what's up for the Gators as they play this weekend against the mighty Texas Longhorns, who make their first trip to Gainesville. That's right. Texas coming into the swamp. That's not the swamp, actually. It's just Gainesville. Stand by. We'll have Steve just a moment. It'll be a busy night tonight with Ben Troupe and the guys and Loren Meadows and that bunch, Franz, all going to be right here on this program on the Buddy Martin Show. So go and tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show is now on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. Buddy Martin here with you. Got our special friend and guest. He's back, road weary, but nonetheless here. He'll join the program in about 30 seconds. Steve Russell's got the Longhorns coming to town this weekend. That's right, the Longhorns. Sound funny? Well, it should because it's their first trip to Gainesville. 3-game series coming up, and it's going to be a big one because Florida needs to finish this all strong. Still needing to do some work to get guaranteed to get in the tournament. Steve's going to update us on all that. Nobody knows more about the Gator baseball team. And the guy who often broadcasted, as he did so eloquently this past weekend, say good evening to Steve Russell. What's up, Steve?
Buddy, how are you? It's hard to believe. I said this in the broadcast Tuesday. The season starts, and everybody's excited. And all of a sudden, we're down to 6 games. That's it.
Yeah.
And then the SEC, it's just baseball season, softball season just fly by. But you know, the Gators now have a road trip to Texas. They're in Austin now. They will host Alabama to end the SEC regular season, and then we're going to see where the Gators are. So
the Texas series is not here?
No, it's in Austin. Yeah.
Oh, I got that wrong. I'm sorry.
Yep. That's okay.
They were coming here the first time. Oh, geez.
Yep. And then Alabama's going to be here though to end the year.
Okay. Well, anyway, so you're not making this road trip. I guess you're probably a little bit grateful for that. So
a little bit, you know, it's like the old, before we chartered places. For those who don't know, if you went on a road trip of any length, you either took a bus, and we still bus to South Carolina, to Auburn, and to Georgia. And every away game, every away series is not a charter. Texas, they went commercial. They bused to Orlando, flew commercial to Austin, and then they will do the same, coming home. So sometimes a charter and buddy is great because you get on the plane, and you come home. But, you know, there's a road trip or two. The bus ride home was long, about 7 hours. We got in at 3 a.m. after the Sunday game because of all the rain and all that. So it was a long trip.
Yeah, I felt for you, man, because I was with you every step of the way. And playing that hopscotch once that baseball game started being delayed. Take us through the blow-by-blow of the weekend when you got a couple of outs and there was some controversy over even starting the game. and then you go to play it on Saturday, and you can't get it in Saturday. Now you got to play 2 on Sunday. Take us through from Friday through Sunday, and of course they swept South Carolina.
Sure. Look, these days now, buddy, you can look on an app and look at the weather. It isn't like the old days when you had to call someplace and find out, the weather bureau, what the weather was going to be. We knew rain was coming. And look, Maneri and Sully are not, don't invite them to each other's birthday party because they don't really get along well. But it was stupid to start that game. And as a matter of fact, they said to South Carolina, rain's coming. Why are we going to start this game? No, our meteorologist says the rain's going to come later.
Oh, really?
Yes. So they started the game, and obviously it rained. It burned Liam Peterson. He couldn't pitch until later in the weekend, and you should have seen him. He was yelling and screaming at their dugout because, in my opinion, they did it on purpose to knock him out of his start. And it worked, but fortunately, in the end, the Gators won the games.
All right, so take me through Friday night. You got started. You had to stop. You go back out the next day, and what happens on Saturday?
Well, we get more rain, and again, I've done SEC tournament games, buddy. Well, we started the game at 1:00 in the morning, and that is not an exaggeration.
Really?
Yes,
started the game at 1:00.
Yes, because you have so many games to get in, right?
Yeah.
Well, look, you can't worry, and I don't mean this the way this is going to sound, but the most important thing is getting the games in. The crowd is secondary. Now, I get it. You want to have as many fans in your home park as you can, but for the love of God, why they didn't start a game on Saturday sooner than what they did, where they could have gotten it.
Why wouldn't they do that?
Great question. So they didn't. And then they had the game scheduled for 1:30. Well, why couldn't you start a game before 1:30 on Sunday? Instead, you got to play the remainder of the game that got rained out and then play the other one, and it made for a long, long day.
Yeah. Let's talk about the team that arrived there. They seemed like they had a special grade of grit. They became a different team almost. Tore the cover off the baseball. Talk about the guys who started swinging the bats and the damage they did. Once they hit a home run, once they started getting power, they got hungry. They wanted more.
They did, but I will also say this, buddy. South Carolina is not a very good team. They're bad. Their best player, Petrie, was hurt. When Maneri got hired, they waited, we were told, for a couple of weeks to really get into the portal. Well, by that time, it was too late. So they had a lot of freshmen in the lineup. Their pitching in their SEC team ERA is over 7, so it's not very good. And then Florida, hit the baseball well. They've been hitting it pretty well, except for the other night against USF. But, overall here lately hitting much better. It was just a matter of Florida, being a better team and South Carolina not being very good.
The power is coming from different places, guys who haven't hit the ball. Suddenly start tearing the cover off the ball. Talk about the progress of some of those guys.
Well, let's start with Shelton, even though he's hurt. He's had a tremendous year. He's cut down his strikeouts, not as many homers, but really, really a good player and a good shortstop too. He's going to be out though, probably till the SEC tournament. But then Luke Heyman has really picked it up, and there's some guys now. In baseball, you talk about how deep your batting order is. Well, look at the order now. All of a sudden, Ashton Wilson's hitting. All of a sudden, Ty Evans is hitting. All of a sudden, Yost is hitting. That expands your lineup, buddy. It makes it a deeper lineup. And Donay, even though he's not been great, he's still contributing long balls. So up and down the lineup now, it's a much deeper lineup. It's a much tougher lineup to pitch to, in my opinion. It'll be even tougher when Shelton gets back.
Who is the hitting coach?
Well, Geralman is that, but I mean, they kind of share that duty a little bit. And I love what they've done in terms of watching some of the swings change, buddy, over the course of the year. And let me also not forget Bobby Bozer. He's been great at the top of the order, kind of like Ricky Henderson, like in the sense of, remember when he used to bat first, but he hit 20 homers, right? Well, he's got 14 homers leading off, and he's a great RBI guy too. He's had to play short now because of Shelton. So, you can see the progress, these guys have made offensively and how they make their approach to the plate.
Could this turn out to be maybe Sully's best coaching job?
Well, I mean, some would argue last year was pretty good too, given the situation was kind of the same. But I think this year, buddy, it is because of the injuries. There's a lot of guys. Think about it. No Cade Curlin for most of the year. Kyle Jones was supposed to be a really good pickup. He hasn't, been able to play because of his injury. Pierce Capola hasn't been able to pitch for the vast majority of the year. They've lost some other pitchers who couldn't pitch. So given all those injuries, they have played very well here of late and gotten to the point now where they position themselves to at least make a regional. And it's my opinion that if they get hot here, if they were to take 5 of these next 6, that would give them 16 league wins.
Wow.
If you make a run in the SEC tournament, it wouldn't shock me if they'd be able to host. But, beating Texas there is no easy thing, and Alabama's a good team too. So winning 5 of 6 isn't easy, but not impossible.
Talk about the coaching staff. Pitching. They had a terrible time finding a Sunday starter. Looks like they may have found one now between injuries and slow development. And suddenly they got a staff. We'll see what Capola does on Friday night, but looks like Sully's found some arms.
Yep. I mean, look, Capola's probably going to be what the big leagues call an opener. But the other day, he threw, 92, 93, and he only pitched an inning, and I don't think he'll pitch more than a couple. But that's okay, because that means if you get him out there just for 2 or 3 innings, that shortens the game for a bullpen that has struggled a little bit. For the guys who've been moved, Clemente, his move to a closer has been great. He's done a great job as Florida's closer, but they still have issues in the middle of the game. Philpott has not been good. McNeely has not been good. That's where I think this has got get a little bit better. And I'm hopeful, buddy, the starters will go a little deeper into games because they've had to use Clemente in the 6th inning, in the 7th inning, but you got to get wins. Now, you can't wait till the 9th inning to bring him in. If you have a chance to win the game in the 7th inning, you bring your guy in. That's what Sully's done.
There's a lot of talk about what it's going to take to get to the tournament. It's not a done deal. There's still some business to be taken care of. Talk about what's left. We know about the trip to Austin, how that got to finish up. How many games do you have to win to have an absolutely lock to get in the tournament?
A lock, I think, would be getting 2 more wins in the league to get to 13. I'm pretty confident at 13 league wins and the schedule Florida's play, great RPI, Florida gets in. They don't host, but they get in. As I said earlier, if they get hot here, buddy, and can win 5 of 6, that's 16 league wins. That's a whole different scenario now because you're going to be moving up, in the standings in the league, and you might have a chance to host. So that's where the margin is. These last 6 league games, could they slip out? Yes, if they don't do well. Could they get in to a regional, probably go on the road? Yes. Outside chance, if they get really hot, they could host.
Steve, you've seen this program a long, long time. You followed it a long time. You've seen Sully all these years. It's when you think about it and you say it out loud, what he has accomplished, the number of times he's gotten to the playoffs, Omaha, the national championships, just quickly recite his record and what he has done and what makes you so sure this guy's like a Hall of Fame coach.
Let me go back to a quick story, buddy. When he was hired, I think people forget this. When Jeremy Foley hired him, he wasn't a head coach. He was an assistant coach at Clemson. He was not a head coach. And that's the guy that Jeremy picked. He grew up about 8 miles from my house in New York. He grew up in New York State. Yeah, left there very early.
We're
I call
in
him
New York.
Goshen. I call him Goshen because that's where
Yeah.
he's, and I'm from
Yeah.
Middletown. So
Yeah, I know Middletown. I lived in Westchester, so I know.
okay, all right. So when I found that out about Sully, it was kind of interesting. But who would have thought, that hire with not ever being a head guy, but Jeremy saw something in him. He's a heck of a recruiter, and he's not easy to play for. I mean, he will chew you if he thinks it's necessary, but players respect him. Players understand. He is a good coach. He's always had a good staff here, going back to Craig Bell and that group and Brad Weitzel. They were with him for a long time. And the group that's there now, they've been instrumental in his success too. But I mean, his record, buddy, speaks for itself with a number of times, going to Omaha and winning the national championship. It's, he's one of the best.
He certainly is. In the remaining time we have here, Steve, I'm going to switch subjects a moment because this football season is going to be quite an interesting one. The pieces seem to be coming together. You see a lot of different polls and projections, what have you, but you've been around the game a long time, and so have I. What we've seen is a coach who kind of is getting his team on the same page. He's got some experience in our key places. We've got a promising young quarterback that's all-world potential, and they're on a little bit of a tear, having won their last 4 games. This is the year where you could get in winning 9 games. If you win the right 9, get in the playoffs. Billy seems to have found something, yet there's that looming schedule they've got. What do you hear and feel and think about how things are progressing? And how do you feel about this year's team? Give me a breakdown on what units you're the most positive about.
Well, if you go and look at the, way too early top 25 polls, Florida's in almost every one of them. So that tells you there's people who think, like you do, that Florida's going to be pretty good. And I agree with that. I think Florida's going to be pretty good. I think the wide receiver room can be special. The quarterback can be special. The running backs are solid. And the offensive line might be the best group he's had since he's been here. Defensively, I think there's a couple of question marks, but I still think it's going to be an improved group. But it's the schedule, right? But even that changes, buddy, because those teams change every year. Is Texas going to be as good as Texas was a year ago, and they come to Gainesville this year? LSU, I think, is better than LSU's team last year, at least at this juncture on paper. So it all boils down to, can you beat an Ole Miss again? Can you beat an LSU? And then if you, as you say, if you win 9 or win 10, you might get to the playoff. And who'd have thought that a couple of years ago when, everybody and their brother were calling for him to be fired. So the patience, at least we think, has paid off, where he's built the program his way. He's gotten talent. He's not been great in the portal like a lot of teams have. He's gotten some additions, but he's really built this through, the high schools and development of players, and then, getting a guy here or there in the portal. So I think the future is good, and I think they got quarterback help. If Lagway goes down, they have some experience there now at the position should he go down.
They have a really strong running back room, too.
Yes.
And their wide receivers, their young talent is oozing. I mean, they've got players like Wilson who just are going to be remarkable players. I can't wait to watch them play. So it's going to be – I've said this a bunch of times. Some people think there's a lot of hooey. I still think there's something to it. It comes off the old cliche, rising tide raises all ships. I think there's something to the fact when you get the basketball team winning like they did, coming from behind, and causing so much excitement. Everybody gets excited. And the slogan, Stay Hot Gator Boys, could be that mantra that carries over to football. We've seen it, and we might see it again in other sports. I think, and again, as someone pointed out, these guys eat together now. They're around each other. They know what's going on. I just think it does influence the team. Now, I've been told by some pretty prominent people, including Steve Spurrier and Shane Matthews, that there's nothing to it. I still believe when you get the fan base buzzed, it carries over. They start to get big crowds. People react. I think it carries over. How do you come down on that?
Well, think about the crowds. They've been there. I mean, even and you have to give Gator Nation credit. When Florida was struggling, buddy, they put people in the seats and sold out that stadium. So I credit Gator fans for that. But do I think, to your point, that, other teams see what basketball did? We want to emulate that. We want to get on that bandwagon. Sure, I think there's something to that. But in the end, it's going to, when all is said and done, and it's, let's blow the whistle and play, that doesn't matter. What happens is, what happens on the field and, what are you doing? Are you good that day? But yeah, I think when you have a team that does that, it raises the bar for everybody to try to emulate. No question.
You, for years, done a daily show. Now you're doing a podcast. I want you to talk about that. And we're going to talk more about getting the fan base excited, because there's one guy here who almost always just gets all excited all the time. Every time you bring up the Florida Gators, Ben Troupe wants to do a backflip. So I say good evening to Ben, Steve Russell.
Ben, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Steve, always good to be on with you, sir.
You got it, man. What do you think, man? Do you share this? Because I think Gator Nation's pretty pumped about this football team.
Absolutely. I think the thing about the University of Florida, as I say it all the time, is we have like a Los Angeles Lakers type mentality. If we ain't winning championships, people think it's a disappointment, not realizing, the teams around us are pretty good too. But Florida has a capability. Most schools have never seen their team do anything significant. They've been close. We are a spoiled fan base to where we've seen it, and we expect to see it more often. And going into the when obviously Coach Golden and Walter Clayton and company won the championship, and somebody said Florida has the best men's athletic department in the 21st century. People went crazy about that, but somebody got to prove me wrong. And they was like, and all they can say with these other schools is, well, look how many national championships they won in football. And then when you get to basketball, it gets quiet. So I think for Florida I think sometimes for a guy like Billy Napier, and not that he didn't know, sometimes you got to see it, in another sport to say, look, Coach Golden was on, he replaced a legend just like you essentially are replacing legends like Urban Meyer, like Steve Spurrier. But when you start talking about Billy Donovan, them are gigantic shoes to fill. Ty Golden understood what the assignment was. So yeah, I do think the momentum is there. DJ Lagway throwing real passes now. This receiving core, this running back core, this offensive line. We got all the hype right now. But that schedule is coming. We do got to go to Miami. We do got to go to Ole Miss. We do got to go to LSU. We do got to go to Texas A&M. We still got Georgia. But I just think that Florida is the type of team, they just got to get going, and I think they will. But see, buddy, y'all know how it goes. Florida, ain't nobody going to feel bad for us. Ain't no sympathy coming, and ain't no empathy coming either. So when Florida supersedes expectations, the analysts and the columnists, and I'm talking about outside of Gator Nation, don't know what to say. It's almost like they're waiting on us to not meet expectations. So, all these narratives that they have, they can pile on. But as a person that went to Florida who understand, look, I played with Rex Grossman. It was shocking when he didn't win the Heisman. But as the time went on, I said, oh, okay. I didn't understand that stuff about Florida quarterbacks. I didn't get it. I was like, they really do that? Like, yeah. And then Tebow came through and kind of killed the myth. And then, and then next thing you see what a guy, like Kyle Trash did. And then you see how they end up doing him at the end. I'm not saying he's supposed to win it, but it's just like, hopefully DJ Lagway understands he got 2 years to solidify himself as one of the greats. He ain't going to do it by himself. I get it. But that's what I think, Florida, you chasing two things. You chasing championships and you chasing legacy all the time. And they're not going to say that out loud, but that's what they're chasing, because either they're talking about what you did individually and what you help your team do collectively, or you one of those teams, you don't want to talk at all. You're like,
we get Steve to weigh in on the subject of, excuse me, man. We get Steve to weigh in on the subject of Lagway's injury and where what he's heard, what he's seen. although he didn't go out and cover practice per se. Nobody else did either. We can only go by what our sources tell us. And now he's back throwing again. And Steve, I know you're aware of what these injuries can be like. You don't want your quarterback to be hurt. Talk about and Ben and I have shared our thoughts about this. Them sitting him down for the spring, not letting him throw, and now he's back throwing, and they're hopeful he's going to be able to be back to normal. What do you hear? What do you think? And what's your prognosis on DJ Lagway, Steve?
Well, first of all, I heard what everybody else has heard, that he is throwing again, and that's good because he needs to throw, right? As good as he is, he's not a finished product, and he needs to keep working. But I think health is number one. If I'm coaching him, especially a guy of his talent, if he's not healthy to throw, man, he ain't throwing. I don't care. I get it. You want him to throw, but he's got to be healthy come September, not, March or April. So the fact that now he is throwing, and Ben, you know this, they're going to go out in the summertime and throw. He'll get acclimated to the receivers. So, that will come. It was a shame that, during spring he couldn't do more than hand off. But do I think it's going to stunt him in some way? I don't think so, but time will tell.
Yeah. In the final second for Steve, I know you've been through all this stuff before. You've been through what Urban did. You've seen his program, and to be on the upswing now, again, back to the rising tides, a national championship in basketball, a baseball team that's still not through yet. Probably won't win a national this year, but is on the upswing now. Certainly, we know, but the golf team is SEC champions. I could go on, but now it seems like this is the perfect time to get on that surfboard and ride that wave in this fall. At a year when you can get into playoffs, you got a shot at it. You got the material, you got the quarterback, you got defense. What would it do to Florida to get to the playoffs this year? How elevated would this overall program be if they make it, Steve?
Huge. And I think the fan base expects that now, rightly or wrongly. I think that's what's expected now because of the hype. Look, they can read a preseason poll like we can read it, right? All these people have Florida in the top 25. So there's the expectation there. They all know how good Lagway can be. You mentioned, buddy, about the receivers and the running backs and the offensive line and the improved defense. And the schedule is going to be the thing that determines this. But if you can get to 9 and beat the right 9, that's why I think that you got to beat you can't lose to Miami. You cannot lose to Miami and expect to get to the playoff. I think that's a huge game for them, as I thought it was last year. But they've got the talent, I think, to compete and possibly get to a playoff. But, a long season.
All right. Franz is here. We'll say this and go around the horn and let Steve go back to his job and life. And we were heading for a half hour. We planned on 15 minutes. But on a scale of 1 to 10, just to bring it in, say, how optimistic are you now about the season Florida plays in football this year? How optimistic are you, Ben?
I mean, I'm an 8, and the reason why I'm an 8 is every good team in football has one thing in common: returning quarterbacks. Every last one of them. Well, the thing about DJ Lagway, he played quicker than he should have because of injury, but he played extremely well when he started. And I know it doesn't mean anything now, but I just go back to the first quarter, Florida, Georgia. That touchdown he had. Look at that Georgia sideline. Now, look at the Georgia sideline when he threw the touchdown. Look at the Georgia sideline when he got hurt. They will say, whoo, because they know. So I just think that I give it an 8 because DJ Lagway did 2 things he said he was going to do. He came in ready to play, and he helped Billy Napier recruit. He helped him do it, and he got these guys in here. So I'm looking forward to the fall. The health of the right arm of DJ Lagway, the hopes and dreams of an entire university and college program rest on the souls of a 19-year-old young man, and I don't think he would have it no other way.
Yeah, you're making a good point. And by the way, Franz, the quarterbacks aren't terribly good in the SEC this year. Once you get past Texas and Florida, 3 or 4, it's not a great year in the SEC for quarterbacks for that reason alone. And by the way, Franz is still on cloud 9 after basketball. You have to forgive him. He's really sitting there at his desk just floating like this because he's so excited about what he's seen. Give us your brief description. How optimistic are you on a scale of 1 to 10, Franz, about the football season?
I'll tell you one thing that makes me optimistic, and that is the fan base. And I think the fan base can help elevate a team. I think when you know your fan base is really ready and ripe, I've seen it, in 2006 through 2010, what happened when the fan base was there and really ready. I saw it at the end of last season when the fan base really got into it. And, leaving the Alamo Dome, I can't tell you how many times I had people tell me it's good to be excited to be a Gator again. I'm telling you what, you come off of like fast finishing football, you win a national championship in basketball, and people are excited, and you got a talented team up there. Steve's right. You got to beat Miami, but there's about 4 games right in there in a row that if the Gators win 3 out of those 4, I think they're going to be in there. And I think, for example, they're going to walk into Tiger Stadium and kick LSU all over the place because I think LSU is going to be the most overrated team in the country. I keep hearing this stuff about Garrett Nussmeier, what a wonderful quarterback he is. Well, I saw him against Florida this past year, and one thing is when you got supposedly the best offensive line in the country and they can't protect him, he's pretty damned average or below average. And their offensive line is not going to be better this year. Florida's defensive line, I think, is going to be as good. So I think winning 3 out of those 4 is possible.
8.5 for a 9, Franz. What are you?
I'd probably say 8.5. Because you got to play at Miami and you got to play at LSU.
All right, Steve's going to be the decider here on this. You know what you got. You know what you're facing. You know the schedule. Your own personal optimism, high or low on a scale of 1 to 10.
8. I'm with Ben. I do think Nussmeier is really good. He's going to be a first-round draft choice. But to your point, Franz, that doesn't matter now. Can you protect him? I don't care who you are. If you can't get protected and you're on your backside, it doesn't matter what you're going to be in the NFL draft. And remember, Carson Beck now is at Miami. What's he going to be like? He's not going to be Cam Ward, probably. We don't know what he's going to be like. Arch Manning, a lot of hype around him.
That's going to be fun.
Right? But we don't know what he's going to do, and he's got to come to Gainesville. So, Ole Miss, no Jackson Dart anymore. Mississippi State's still bad. A&M, I like their quarterback, but a lot of their guys are gone from last year. So this is a schedule, while tough, I don't think it's as tough as last year's, even though it's the same teams. I think the personnel of the other teams is a little bit less than what it was a year ago, and that's why I think Florida has a better chance of success.
And Georgia doesn't have a quarterback.
They think they do, but yes, I hear what you're saying.
Gunnar Stockton. I mean, Steve, I think you could go out there and compete for the job, and you may have lost a step at some point in time, but Gunnar Stockton doesn't impress me.
Well, he'll have better receivers. Their receiver group last year, I thought, was poor. Better group. A better group makes a better quarterback. But I agree. Carson Beck certainly on paper was better. So that's why this season is going to be fun, because I don't think the quarterbacks that Florida faces are as good as the ones they faced a year ago.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben. You have something?
No, I agree. I think I do. You got the same guys, and Arch Manning. I mean, I know he ran 23 miles an hour against a FCS team last year, and people kept showing it. I get it, but I think every quarterback we're gonna face this year, I would say DJ Lagway is either much better or just as good. Manning got the last name. We got to go out there and prove it. I get it. LSU and things like that. But look, this Florida team understands what winning consistently feels like. A lot of these guys coming back, you got when you got true freshmen key contributors at the running back position and at the quarterback position, you got the best center in the country. You got a D line that's, them guys, Sapp and company, and it's gonna. Yeah, I know we making the news for the wrong reason right now. When you talk about DBs and things of that nature, yeah, we get the little controversy now and at the end. But I like Florida's chances because a lot of guys that's coming back were a part of those wins last year. It's one thing to watch Florida do it if you're on the sideline, but it was out there, and that matters. So experience gonna beat talent any day. But when you take experience and talent together, okay, now we got to win a recipe. So I like Florida's chances. Like I said, I'm up here in the great state of Georgia, and every time, obviously I'm wearing my Florida Gator orange and blue all the time. And Georgia fans don't really have a lot to say after football season. They don't really want to talk because every time I see them, they got on Duke t-shirts because they don't realize you have to root for the same team. Like you have, no, they don't know that. Wait a minute, we have to root for Georgia in football, basketball, baseball. They'll go, no, I thought we could root for Duke and North Carolina. My daddy went to, no, it's Georgia. They don't know that. So when they see me wearing my
Georgia, he lives up there. She's among.
No, but what I'm saying is, buddy, they really don't know that. They really don't know. They told me I can't root for Coach K. No, you can't. You root for. I said, do you know who your basketball coach is for Georgia? They went, exactly. I don't know him either, even though I do.
All right. Let's see you get out of here. We'll be here at 10 o'clock. And it is 10 o'clock there. But anyway, all right, thank you, Steve. Great. Tell folks real quick about your podcast, where they can get you and all that. And we're going to bring you back here a lot, hopefully.
Well, I appreciate the invite always, buddy. Yeah, we're doing a Sportscene podcast Monday and Friday at noon. YouTube, where you can catch it anytime you want to. It's been a lot of fun to do. It's been an adjustment after doing, radio all those years, but it's been fun to do, and I enjoy it. So thank you for allowing me to do that, buddy.
Yeah, Steve's really going to miss that Saturday night when all those guys get drunk calling the show after the Gators lose. That's what he's really going to miss.
Yeah. Well, you never. I'll say this, buddy. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen between now and September.
I think you'll be back there.
I can tell you one thing too. You won't meet 5 people in your lifetime that know music and the records that made the music in the 70s, the 60s, the 70s, and the early 80s. You'll never meet anybody that knows it better than Steve.
I
One of the things that I always admired about him was he used to do a show on Sunday nights, and he'd pull out stuff, and I'm sitting there saying, I haven't heard that song in 30 years. Yeah. And he's got it. Steve was the best at that.
I got to let Steve go. We'll say good evening to Lauren. Good night, Steve. Thank you, buddy.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, fellas. Lauren,
how you doing, sir? Absolutely. Much respect.
Yeah, same here. See you, fellas. Thank you.
Sir.
Thanks,
appreciate it very much. The great Steve Russell. Glad to have him on. Guys, Lauren's here. I'm going to tell you about we're running behind. Got a huge audience tonight, by the way. I've got to get this in because they paid the bills. And the folks at Meldon Law are among our best. They are great people. Not only are they great Gators, they're terrific lawyers. We don't talk about that enough. We talk about what good people they are because we enjoy their company. And Jeffrey, we have on here a lot. We're going to have a podcast soon with him. He does his own. And Jeffrey has done so many good things to Florida. Again, mentioning things like raising money to buy the buses for the band, et cetera, et cetera. He had a wonderful time on the road going to Texas and San Francisco and rooting on his friend, Todd Golden, and the Gators. And he just has a great deal of joy out of life. Jeffrey Melton. He wants you to know if you want some of their help, they will be glad to help you. All you got to do is call them. They're located in Ocala, Gainesville, Lake City, and Williston. Meldon Law, they will not back down. Good evening to you, Low.
How you guys doing?
Host of the LowDown. It's home show now, boys.
Yeah, something like that, man. Trying to make it happen. Had a real nice crowd on Tuesday. Go work some guys in, get them going. I think we're gonna talk to that guy up above me next week. But yeah, things have been great. And once again, thanks to you, buddy, for your guidance and your mentorship, and Franz for all the support. It's going pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's probably more Brendan than me, but nonetheless, you've been doing a really good job here. I love it. We're all together. We can talk ball, which we do here regularly. This group on Thursday nights used to be called Orange and Blue Blood Show. I don't know anymore. We got so many titles and so many shows and hosts.
It's still, we still make it happen on Thursday.
Yeah,
you know, take the you know.
I don't know how much. Brendan gives me orders to tell people listening we have a real large audience to share this show tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So please, if you hear me, please go on and share this show on whatever your platform you're on, Twitter or whatever, man, whatever it may be. The boss man. All right, so Loren, we had some conversation before you got here about a lot of things. A lot of it's some of the same stuff we talk about. You talk about on your show, whatever. By the way, good show with mother of the softball star, Falby, Mrs. Falby. She was really good. Enjoy it. Tough loss for the softball team, guys. By the way, Ole Miss probably should have beaten Texas today.
Yeah,
they did. So we'll go here and they restart it. So, all right. So Loren, I asked him this earlier, and I kind of know your answer, but I'll let you weigh in on this subject first. When it comes to optimism on this year's football team, given the trajectory of this program right now, the way that all the tides are rising for all the ships, etc., I still believe in that. Given all this happening, and what could be a really tremendous year for these Gators, if Lagway is as healthy as we think he might be, how optimistic are you on a scale of 1 to 10 about this Gator football team in 2025?
I'm a 9, and I'll say a 9. I'll say a 9, and I'll go that with that's the win total and maybe plus. This is about as good as this football team has been on paper since, we've been doing this thing, maybe since Mullins, maybe second or third year. I can't remember, somebody correct. The year that basically went to the Cotton Bowl and maybe could have snuck into the national title and all that kind of stuff. But as good a team as they've had, they're athletic, they're deep, and the biggest issue has always been, is them making the plays when it counts in the games that they need them in. And, you saw late in the year what that team could be when they make the plays, when they're supposed to be there. I don't really have any problem or any concerns with the team offensively. I think they're going to be as good as they've been offensively in a while. And I think they've been solid. As much as people talk about DJ Lagway, shout out to Graham Mertz. This team was in a lot of position to win, albeit for a defense that at times was historically bad and just couldn't find a way to get off the field on third down. We keep talking about it, but when you look at this team with the athleticism at linebacker and on the edges and in the secondary, the depth, and then we've already talked about the receivers, the running backs. Everybody talks about Jaden Bond, Jacoby Jackson, and out of Jabbar Jaluk's mouth to me was, don't forget about Trayon Webb. So, they're so talented. The quarterback could be, it's tough to say generational right now, but is on his way to being generational. Buddy, you pegged him right off the bat, and as good as he is as a player, you get to know DJ Lagway and spend some time with him. He's a pretty good dude too. So all those things, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on this team right now. Like I said, they got to play, and we could talk all we want, and we've talked about it, and you are judged on 12 Saturdays in the fall. All this is, it's talk, but if they can manage that schedule, and just continue to play well week in, week out, I think it's a 9-win football team for sure.
So right now, especially. So I'm going to give you a couple of things. Some people are already high on Florida. Josh Bates, one of them. By the way, I keep getting these anonymous polls. People who just say post-spring college football top 25 by ESPN, okay? I'm just going to put them out here. I want you guys to listen. We'll come back and talk. Number 1, Penn State. 2, Clemson. 3, Texas. 4, Georgia. 5, Ohio State. 6, LSU. 7, Notre Dame. 8, Oregon. 9, Alabama. 10, BYU. 11, Illinois. 12, Arizona State. South Carolina. 14, Iowa State. 15, SMU. What's wrong with this picture so far? No Florida. 16, Texas Tech. 17, Indiana. 18, Kansas State. Florida, 19. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a homer. That's ridiculous. Florida, Michigan, 20. Miami, 21. Louisville, 22. Texas A&M, 23. Ole Miss, 24. So keep that one in your – smoke that in your pipe for a second, okay? Now,
Here's one thing I like about looking at that poll. I looked at it earlier today. There's 3 teams in there that relied less on the transfer portal than anyone else that are ranked. Texas, one of them, Clemson, another one of them, and Florida. You look at these other teams that relied so heavily. You know, Georgia, for example, for all those 5-star recruits and 4-star recruits and unbelievable recruiting classes that everybody says was all interplanetary, look at the number of transfers they've got. And the ones listed there at ESPN aren't all of them. Georgia had to dip heavily into the portal. And guys, you know, I don't think it's kind of like Florida basketball this year. Yeah, they got in the portal, but the core of the team was already there and was veteran, and guys had been around. And I just don't see that you're going to win national championships relying on the portal so much. I just don't do it. I think Florida's reliance on building the program from the bottom up is going to pay off in a big way. I think Loren's right about that.
Yeah, and I want to give you this little ditty from Twitter or X. I hate you have to call it both things. From Blue Orange Gator. He says, days since last football or basketball national championship. Florida, 31. Georgia, 850. FSU, 4,139. University of Kentucky, 4,784. Miami, 8,527. Tennessee, 9,623. UCF, never.
That's my kind of guy.
Yeah, I know.
I thought UCF had a national. Oh, okay.
They thought they did too.
It was they called the NCAA and they said, "Listen, we're gonna say we national championships," and Mickey Mouse said he's gonna be on the float. They're like, "All right, well, go ahead. You know, that's fine. It's cool." I mean,
well, I haven't been able to find that one in anywhere in the records, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, the Fighting Frosts think that now that they got him back there, they think that the sky is the limit. We're gonna have undefeated seasons again, and you know they're gonna find out. Playing in the Big 12, even if it's not the same Big 12 as it was when they had Oklahoma and Texas. It's still the Big 12, and it ain't like playing North Texas and Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, they got a new commissioner guy who's extended 3 more years. By the way, when I look at the schedule, Florida's schedule, we're not going to put it up. We all know what it is. And I study it and look at it. And I say, what am I seeing here? I'm seeing a very difficult schedule. I'm seeing a team in Florida that could beat any of those teams. I didn't say they were going to be undefeated. I think they can beat anybody on that schedule. Anybody, as we saw what they did to Georgia last year. Well, you know, what if if things did go their way? What if they did get the right number of people on the field? Didn't make mental mistakes, didn't throw interceptions, able to protect the quarterback. What if that happened? Imagine how good this team could be. And they could be very, very, very good. And Loren would be right on with this 9 projection, maybe even a 10, if those things went right. And we can't know if they're going to go right or not. So I don't know. I'll ask you around the horn here in our final couple of minutes. Tell me, when you look at that schedule, if you need to call it up, you can. What do you see looking at the granular part of it? Just write down, looking at it. Ben, when you see that schedule, is there something you see on that schedule maybe we don't see?
Florida, what I see on this schedule that's going to separate this team throughout the course of the year, I think Steve hit it on the head. It's the right 9. You got to beat the right 9. And look, Tennessee gave you the blueprint last year. 9 wins get you. Yep. 9 wins in the SEC gets you in. Now you got to beat Miami. You got to beat them. And I think that, and the reason why you got to beat Miami is, I mean, just for bragging rights, number one, but number two, I mean, that's going to help your resume. And there's not going to be a better out-of-conference win against a Miami team, regardless if they got Cam Ward. I know they got Carson Beck. But Texas coming to Florida, man, you beat Texas, and they will not stop talking about it. That's national media. Now, this is outside of Gainesville, and I think Georgia's Georgia, and they got Gunnar Stockton. You got to go to Texas A&M and put up a fight, man. They cannot look like it did in the swamp last year. But the right 9, oh man, I think Florida got as great a shot as any. Because like I said, we thought that Graham Mercer was going to play every single snap, and DJ Lagway was going to get to come in so we could see what we got coming. Man, 5-0 as a starter. I'm just saying, that schedule, the quarterbacks aren't as good this year. I know we got to go to LSU. I know we got to go to Texas A&M. You know, I understand. I know we got to go down to Miami. Listen. You taking 3 things to help you win games: defensive line, offensive line, a running game. And that's before you even get to the passing game. I think 9 wins is very, very, and 9 wins not just doable. It gets you in the college football playoff. So. I'm with it.
All right. What do you see there, Francis?
Well, I see a beatable LSU team. I see a beatable Miami team. I don't think Carson Beck is their answer. I think they've overspent by $4 million. They needed to develop the quarterback they had and take $3 million of that money they spent with Carson Beck to get themselves an offensive line. The Aggies are very, very beatable this year. They're not going. They lost way too much to graduation and transfers. I think Florida's better than Georgia this year. But it comes out of those four games: LSU, Miami, Texas A&M, and Texas. Florida's got to win 3 out of those 4 games. If Florida wins 3 out of those 4 games, I think the Gators are going to make the playoff.
Loren, what do you see when you look at that schedule?
I like we're gonna find out early. I like that. I like the couple of little tune-ups, LIU, South Florida, and then I like the trip to Baton Rouge, followed by the trip to Miami. Find out what we made of right away. We'll know if DJ Lagway is the real deal. We'll know if Jaden Bach can recreate and along with others, if they can recreate that running game. We'll see if that offensive line has taken that next step. We'll see if those receivers are ready. And against what some people think could be the number 1 pick in the draft next season, we'll find out if we can get off the field on 3rd down. I mean, we're going to see 2 quote-unquote pros at the quarterback position. They find out right away. And then, you go from there. I mean, if they get those 2 and they're 4-0, I mean, look out. It's going to be on, because not only do you have a talented bunch, but you have a talented bunch that's playing with a lot of confidence. I mean, what concerns me is that November 8th trip to Kentucky, a lot later than we're used to. I guess, Franz, you guys, I think they used to go a little later in the year back under Coach Spurrier.
Lexington in November is a rotten
It's
place.
just brutal. The weather, I mean, it's 2 hours from where I grew up, and that weather can be iffy. It could be 70 or it could be 20. And so depending on the weather, that could be. But if Florida, it's not a grass field, it's a field turf field, so the footing should still be pretty good. But Florida, that could be a game where Florida would have to maybe rely on the running game a little bit. But I'm with Franz. I mean, you get through that, you win 3 to 4 or sweep those 4. I think you're in good shape. I mean, I like the way the schedule lines up a little better. I like Tennessee coming in here after. I think that's late, and who knows where they'll be as a team by then with whatever they decide to do at quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, I think that this is a team the right 9, the right 3, and yeah, I mean, get ready to play in December.
Yeah, guys, we don't sugarcoat things around here. We don't dwell on the negative, but I don't want to be accused of dodging anything. We had the Dijon Johnson story, the cornerback who was caught and arrested. Hadn't been charged last time I heard. They had some substance, a controlled substance. Some said they thought it was creatine, but last night Kevin Brockway said, "Don't be so sure. They're going to test it." There was a gun found in the car he was in. He said it wasn't his. A couple of the reporters we know that are good reporters said they believed it wasn't his. But, before you get in that area, the dog ate my homework because we've been down this road, fans, many times.
Oh, yeah.
We're hoping against hope it's not going to be anything. But I don't want to just blow it off like it's nothing because it could be something. Having said that, it's been a remarkably clean program. And Billy has done a tremendous job in the comportment of his players. Just about 30 seconds apiece on this subject, starting with Ben, going to Loren and then Franz about what you know and think, or do you want to talk about it?
Sometimes we have to be reminded that these young men are under a huge microscope, and sometimes, they're going to make mistakes. We hope that the mistakes is something that is not going to lead to multiple games, but I'm wishing the best for Dijon. Sometimes, man, you have to be reminded of who you are, and what you represent. And sometimes those reminders is not – sometimes the red, blue, and lights is going to be the reminder. So we're going to have to wait to see. But when we think about how much could happen in the offseason, I'm not saying I want it to be this. But I do agree, buddy, clean ain't even the word. Because Urban Meyer, one of the best coaches ever came through Florida. And my God, that stuff used to be a lot. It used to be a lot going on. So to have one guy who's going to help the other guys see what they should and shouldn't be doing, I give Billy Napier a lot of credit, man. Because he can't control them youngins once they in his presence. It's only one, and hopefully it'll just be that one.
All right, Loren, give me your take. I know you didn't want to address it on your show. But if you feel comfortable, just go ahead and give me your thoughts about it.
Well, I'm gonna put it like this. I'm gonna speak to the young man maybe and leave it at this. For all intents and purposes, he seems and has been said by Billy Napier and others that he is a highly respected member of the team, does things the right way, works extremely hard. Just be mindful. If the gun wasn't yours, then somebody. You need to watch your circle and make sure that whoever's around you is putting you in positions to be, in a better space. And, whatever the substance was, I heard creatine. If that was it, then they'll test it and could be nothing. But what I'm speaking to the young man is, just maybe when this is over, take a look at your circle and make sure you're surrounding yourself with good people.
Good advice. And Franz, we don't bash people, but we also don't dodge stories. What's your final take on this?
I think that Loren hit the nail on the head. These kids do, and Ben too, these kids do live under a microscope, and sometimes they lose sight of that. And it's easy. You go home and you see all your buddies that you hadn't seen in a while, and somebody says, "Hey, let's go for a ride." And you say, and you don't want to, but you feel obligated to because you don't see them for 6 months at a time. And you say, oh, okay. And it's easy to do that. Now, that being said, there's always that possibility that it's all true. And if it is true, then Billy Napier has got to close ranks with his team and make sure that this is not endemic to the entire team. He's got to make sure that this, if it is true, he's got to make certain that this is a one-shot deal, that he had one kid that did the wrong thing. We've seen way too many teams over the years that one guy gets arrested and then the next thing you know, there's another guy and another guy, and it kind of unravels. So Billy's got some work to do here, because whether it's true or not, if it's not true, then he's got to take Dijon into his office and say, here is the deal. You dodged the bullet, but the next time there is a bullet, it may hit you right between the eyeballs. So that's one. And if it is true that he did it, he's got to close ranks with his team, and he's got to, and for lack of a better term, there has to be a shakedown, and you got to be able to take your team out and say, guys, we got too much possibility here. We cannot afford for one guy to bring the whole team down.
All right, well said, and we're out of time, and Ben had to go. Good job, Loren. Good job, Franz. Terrific, and we'll see tomorrow morning. Don't forget SEC Sidelines with Rob and with the gang. Brendan Martin will be there, so we're on the air all the time around here. So thanks, guys. Have a good night. All right, appreciate it.
All right.
Good night, guys.
Have a good one, gentlemen.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up with our message from Titan MRI. They're now Titan MRI and Imaging. They acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colorio did, and he started Highfield in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and Imaging now has 3 locations to serve you: 2 in Gainesville with its Park Avenue location, now at the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI and Imaging offers the same great customer service. They accept insurance, or you can go through their convenient self-pay options. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, and ultrasound. Easy scheduling with lots of options, including, even if you need them, larger MRI machines for patient comfort. So check them out. There are several locations to serve you now. There will be more. It's coming soon to Marion County. Titan MRI and Imaging. Thanks to our guests tonight, including Steve Russell. It's always good to have Steve on. Of course, our regular team, Ben and Franz and Loren. Appreciate you. What a big crowd tonight. Appreciate the support of the program. So come back again all weekend. We'll be on the air at various times. Always, when things happen, Brendan Martin will make sure we know it, and we'll be back on the air in a moment's notice. So we're with you. Appreciate your support. Have a great night.